Curse of Strahd, episode 9. Oh my gosh, this was a fun one. And it ended on yet another cliffhanger, yet another time with Lars the Bard getting into some trouble. Can't just stay out of it. Oh goodness. So we left off this session after the hag fight. Crazy hag fight. It ended in a spot where the Bard, Lars, had to enact a pact from Strahd himself, who Strahd earlier on reached out to him and said, if you ever need help, just let me know. And he called him on that and is now technically a warlock patron situation going on. So with that, some interesting things are going to go down. And so what I had to do at the beginning to show you guys my Dungeon Master binder. Also, if you're interested in any of this stuff to go next level with it, you can go next level in my Dungeon Master binder. My patrons have full access. Different ward tiers have different wards. Metallic Dragons have full access to my Dungeon Master binder here as I'm building it out. I'm also going to be releasing more things in my Dungeon Master binder. Stay tuned for that. But all of those are released and announced through Patreon. And I stream my games to Patreon, and I show and give patrons every single week. They get their clip of our live plays. So what we do, oh man. So I always start off with the next session, and this is where it starts off. In the Docklands of Barovia, here we go. I did have to do a pretty big retcon, because last time I had Strahd appear, because it was a curveball. I did not see this coming, and I had Strahd teleport, technically, to this spot. And in Barovia, you can't teleport. I know in Strahd's mansion, there's a whole teleportation circle situation, and then he can do something with it. But that it wouldn't have been fastest, and he definitely could not have teleported there immediately. And that's what I did. And I realized, no, actually, you can't teleport in Barovia. That's not how it went. Okay, nope. And this is important. And normally with a retcon like this, I'm like, well, that's now canon, and I'd run with it, but that's not fair. I would have accidentally given Strahd a very powerful ability to teleport anywhere in Barovia. That's a little broken, and I don't want to give Strahd some big buff because I accidentally messed up. So I had to go back and retcon, and here's the retcon. I basically laid out what happened. I had some scenes. They got to see Strahd again. The witches got to try and have their final little stand, and then everything ended the same. So I made sure to end the same, but how we got there was different than how it actually happened, right? So basically Strahd got on his nightmare fire horse and flew there, beelined right away. So he did not teleport. He did that, but the players did learn that he can't do that, which is, I guess, important for them. So it ended up being fine. And then we picked back up where they left off, where the barbarian of the group, who has a little bit of an animal god nature background, touched an ancient obelisk, which in my world, these ancient obelisks are religious relics of beacons, is what they're called, and they're a beacon to deities, and they have been corrupted in this land for obvious reasons and are blocked in this way. And she touched it, and she got a little taste of some god magic, and then that was where she kind of left off. They got all turned into capybaras, which is a whole thing. I went on a one-on-one talk with that player, and I was like, I told them to pick an animal, and that's all I told them. And that was like their spirit animal or whatever. And then she transformed into one. So did two of the other group members, and they got to play around as capybaras for a little bit. So we had some fun with that. And then now to fast forward, because I'm not trying to give y'all a literal play-by-play. I'm doing the big broad strokes. So now they're going to go on the road to Vallaki. I had Irina give them some Vallaki hooks. Irina is the NPC that's with them. She had some hooks for Vallaki, gave them some little nuggets there. And then I had Reek, which is the little boy that's with them. What am I clicking? Reek is the little boy that's with them. He gave him some backstory nuggets on the orphanage and some sketchy stuff going on with the orphanage. Spoilers about the orphanage. The orphanage is viewed to be bad by the kids, and it is, from the outside looking in, it looks like the headmistress is evil. She has some plots going on. There's some nasty stuff going on. The truth, though, is she is actually good. And this whole thing with the town is things aren't always as they seem. And I've made sure to make the town have people that look sketchy but aren't, have people look sketchy but are, have people that look great but they're actually sketchy, and then look great and they're great. You got to have all of them, or people are always gonna be like, well, it's not that, it's the opposite, you know. So I sprinkled in all the little hooks there, and then they get to meet Vasily von Holtz. And if you have dungeon mastered Curse of Strahd, or you're about to, or you currently are, you should know who Vasily von Holtz is. Vasily von Holtz is Strahd. His alternate identity. So I chose for them to meet Vasily von Holtz right now. Strahd just rode all the way over there and stopped. And then on their way, they meet. Guess who the next human being they run across is? Vasily von Holtz, Strahd's alternate identity. It's his disguise. He has polymorphed himself into a different looking human, and he has detect auras, cancellations, all that kind of stuff. Nestol's magic aura, all that kind of stuff to block him from being detected. And he got to stumble in the party. It was so much fun to play Strahd through this, bold guy that's just kind of talking with them. They stumbled across. It's a little sketchy, but not too much. He was getting attacked by wolves, and then they scared the wolves off, and they saved this guy. There's no way it's Strahd. Oh yeah, so super fun. I made sure that I didn't want to just play this guy completely straight up. Two of the players had, I don't know about this guy. And I even went and talked to each of them. I gave one of them a whisper and kind of talking about I don't know, you don't really get it, So it was great. It was absolutely great. And as far as I was worried about, this is one of the key NPCs, Vasily von Holtz. I got to make sure I nail this guy. This is Strahd's alternate identity. And it went off great. And it was great to have Vasily kind of walk into the group. There was also a really funny moment as well when Vasily, who is Strahd, is pursuing Irina, flirting with Irina, talking with Irina, because it's Strahd, right? And guess what? I tried to get all the group to go do something, and they're like, oh, we're going to go scavenge for some food. And I was trying to get them away so that Vasily and Irina could talk one-on-one. And that didn't happen because Lars, the bard, who is currently pursuing Irina, and it's going great. They've been making checks. I've been tracking it. It's a whole thing. And things have been going great. They're not official or anything. It's only been 2 weeks in game, so nothing too crazy, right? They definitely are fond of each other, etc. I'm trying not to rush that relationship. But then Lars's brother, the true wingman himself, stayed back to kind of keep an eye on Vasily. Vasily starts talking with Irina, and he's like, nope, hold up. I'm literally, as a dungeon master, talking about how Vasily goes over to Irina. He's like, oh, no, I got to stop this. I got to interject. I got a wingman. What can I do? I'm going to come in. I got to stop this. So I was like, all right, give me a charisma check. And this is your brother. I gave him advantage on it. I gave him advantage on the roll because he has the entire campaign. He has been this wingman energy towards his brother to really hype him up. And he has a moment now to stop this Vasily guy. Guys, he rolled a double natural 20 on this, of all things, which actually is more important than any of them realize, because you just double nat 2 natural 20s. Double nat 20'd a stop of Strahd von Zarovich talking to Irina one-on-one and stopped it cold in its tracks. I respect it. I got to respect the double nat 20. So that alone is a huge, and it has implications and other things. I'm not going to get into all that, but man, oh man, was that crazy. So that was super cool. After the fight, we went through this whole thing of they kind of talked about it. Vasily got to go on the long rest, and I was like, I picked a player. I was like, who wants to stay with me and enjoy a night's watch? And I got to talk with Pug, the paladin. And Pug was like, what do you think? And I even asked Pug, what do you think about this night? How are you not scared? What's going on? And that is Strahd testing. Are you afraid? Are you afraid? Are you afraid? Huh? And testing to see if they're truly ready to be challenging, which is what Strahd wants them to be. He wants them to be challenging for other reasons we can talk about. And then also he asked, what do you think of this Strahd guy? Which was so funny to have Strahd as an alternate identity ask somebody else, what do you think about Strahd? So that was just fun. And then this encounter I cut this encounter entirely. I'm going to move it somewhere else. I'm going to have it in my Dungeon Master binder. I'll put it somewhere else. But I cut this encounter. I just wanted them to get into the city. They were outside the city for long enough. They had plenty of role play. My players would do a very good job of talking with each other and role playing during these little moments and creating these moments with each other, while they're walking and talking with NPCs, talking with each other. Absolute props to them. It's great. They're great. And I cut this. I was like, no, let's just get to the city. And then we're in the city. Here's the city or the town of Vallaki. And here we are. The whole thing all efficiently laid out in one. Each of these things is an entire situation, each with all NPCs and their motivations, and different NPCs have quest lines, and this quest line has rewards and clues. It's pretty in depth. So they got to town, and this was really cool. They went through a very elaborate check-in to make sure that they registered everything. And here's where some things start to go south. They registered at check-in, and if you were a magic user, you have to register that you are a magic user, and you are not allowed to use magic unless it's within the church and approved by Father Petrovich. You cannot cast magic willy-nilly. That's not a thing here. We got rules to stay on, and you'll see. So basically, everyone that can cast magic registers except for Lars, the Bard, is now an unregistered. He's just a regular dude, right? So he lied about it, rolled high on a deception, totally fine, slipped through the cracks. And then we'll get back to that, no big deal. And then I added an NPC of this tour guide, and he gave them a tour, kind of told them about the town. I gave them the map, all that stuff. And then it was cool. I was like, what do you guys want to do? They kind of asked some questions, talked about it and everything. I let them know kind of how the whole thing's going to work now that they're in the city. And it was really cool. The group split up to do their own thing. Loved it. And I have 5 players. The paladin and the cleric took the 2 children that are with them that they saved from the hags. They brought the 2 children, and they went to go to the church. They're checking out the church. Cool. The other 2 the other 2 players, the rogue and the barbarian, wanted to kind of peruse the town and get a lay of it, kind of like talk to some people, check the streets, what's going on here, right? And then they got some rumors and some little side interesting stuff going on here. So that's what they got. And I wanted to like plant a little seed of somebody watching them. So then I was like, you notice when you guys are talking off in the distance, somebody's just staring at you. And they're like, I'm going to go over right away. And as soon as you move towards them, they dart down the street. And they're like, I'm running after them. And this could have gone real bad, because if they were running after them, the guards might have stopped them. They had a guard intrication, but then they rolled really bad on their their checks to kind of sprint and check in on them, and then disappeared, nowhere to be found. So either way, I was either going to get across guard presence, or I was going to get across you're being watched and they got away. So anyway, so that was that little pocket. And then they're like, all right, Kai, we're going to go to the meetup spot. And they decided that their meetup spot was going to be the Blue Water Inn, which is the biggest inn in town. Cool. So then I cut over to the church group. The church group that came in, there's a big procession. A congregation happening. They're able to talk to the Father Petrovich afterwards. And I'm going to show you in Father Petrovich's whole situation here, right? We go to the church. We go to Father Petrovich right here. He has a quest. If there's a paladin or cleric in the group, he opens up. That's I did not change that. That was part of the module that I really liked, and I ran with. And turns out I have a paladin cleric in the group. How crazy is that? So he instantly opens up to them about the missing bones, and that's a huge, huge deal. The missing bones of St. Andral. And he let him know all about that. And that was really cool to see them unlock that quest right there, which is a huge quest in the big picture of things, right? So big check on that. And then they're like, okay, cool. They wrapped it up and went to head towards the Blue Water Inn. And then there's Lars. Lars says he wants to go on a date, just like walking the streets with Irina. Super simple, nothing too intense, just kind of walk around the town together. And it made sense because there's 5 players and Irina. So Lars and Irina paired up. It was great. It worked out perfect. And then a funny thing, just to mention this because it is funny with Lars and Irina, he's like, yeah, so this is your childhood home, right? And she's like, no, I grew up in the village of Barovia. He's like, oh, yeah, well, where's the places you know where to go? She's like, last time I came here, I was like 12, so I don't know. And he's like, so I had to make a charisma check at disadvantage. He rolled an 11. It was like, oh, it's just not going too out right now. He's like, let's go. There's 2 different bars. There's 2 different inns in the town. I said, there's a popular main one and there's a rinky dink. There's a not as popular one. And I left it very clear. Now, I want them to go to the Blue Water Inn. That is literally the only thing. I made up this other inn on the fly. It doesn't even exist. I just said there was another one because it would only make sense for a town to have at least 2 inns, right? Especially with the Blue Water Inn having these little rooms as it does. I was like, yeah, there's the Blue Water Inn. And then I was like, and they're like, well, what's the other one called? And I was like, the Red Robin Inn. I thought red because it's the opposite of blue. I thought robin because it's a bird, and there's a lot of ravens with this. So that was kind of a little bit of a clue there too. Now I think of it. But anyway, they went to the Red Robin Inn, and everyone was drunk in there. Everything was in shambles. It was a terrible place for a date. And he's like, never mind, we're going to leave. So I just purposely made it a terrible spot to go on a date to try and get people to the Blue Water Inn, because that's where cool quest stuff is happening, not a random thing I made up on the fly. So then they go to Blue Water Inn. Here's where things start to get bad. You're not supposed to say Strahd's name here in Vallaki. It's actually illegal. It's fully illegal. It's illegal to say Strahd's name. You have to refer to him as the devil, or him or something like that. And you can't cast magic. So what do you think Lars does? So they're in the thing, and they're in the bar, and one of the things I have, and I'll show you right here. Oh, let me go back. One of the things that I have is where they go to the Blue Water Inn, and one of the this is all open. Oh yeah. So Danica, one of the things, she hypes the party up and gets them to tell stories, right? So she's like, "You're an adventurer." He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Everyone," and she like turns to the bar and is like, "Tell us a story." And he's like, "All right." I stand up and start. I'm gonna tell them a story about the hags, but I'm gonna make sure not to mention Strahd. Don't say Strahd. Don't say Strahd. Don't say Strahd. And he rolls, and I asked him for a performance check. This is an College of Eloquence bard, and he rolls a natural 1. And his description of his own natural 1 was he says Strahd's name. And it was funny. It was hilarious. And he said Strahd's name. And he led with it. He goes, all right, so there's this. So all right, so we saw Strahd, and they're like, "What? What the devil? He said the devil's name. They've summoned him. He's gonna be here now. Everyone run!" No, and then like it was pandemonium. Everybody's running and leaving, and then what's funny is everyone was screaming and leaving. The next thing that happens, guards come in to arrest him, flat out. 100%. I am waiting to arrest a player. I'm wanting to have that happen. That'd be crazy, right? I want to make him deal with this problem and really make him feel Vallaki right now. Maybe not this early, but hey, here we go. So I was going to have the guards come in and be like, and have somebody be like, "It's him." And then he was going to straight up just be screwed. Right now, he says, he goes, "I'm just going to blend in with the crowd and leave with them." I was like, oh my God, you don't even know how brilliant that is, that you just saved your own butt. I was like, give me a stealth check. He rolled 23 on the stealth check. He gets out of there, but then sees guards storming in, looking around for him. And then his brother comes up and was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And me, as I'm role playing the guard, and I accidentally said Strahd. He's like, "He said Strahd." And, "Whoa!" And so I was like, you know what? Okay, I messed up. I should be better. The guard, I'm going to give y'all a roll on this. If I roll a 1 through 5, the guard accidentally slipped up and said Strahd. If I don't, then he did not say that. He's more well trained than I am. But I'll give y'all a roll on this. I roll a 5, which is within the threshold. And I was like, yeah, okay, he says Strahd. And then the guards now have to arrest him, and they take him to the stocks. So now the next morning in the stocks will be a guard that said Strahd tied up in there. So there we go. And they got away with it. I was like, wow, all right. I respect the hustle. Okay, fast forward, some role play. People start coming in. The people fill back in. They're having their little talk at the table. People are drinking wine. The characters are drinking wine. They're getting a little tipsy. They wanted to role play being tipsy. Finally being able to let loose. I loved it, letting them be able to have the full spectrum of the stress of the curse of Strahd, but relax a little bit. It's all good. And they were able to kind of relax and drink some stuff. So then, funny little thing, they checked in. It's about the end of the session. In my head as a dungeon master, I'm like, man, I really like to end my sessions with a bang, but I guess this is just going to be, y'all go to sleep, you wake up the next morning, and then that's where we'll end the session. All right, I guess that's what's going to happen. And I had some other encounters where I was like, ooh, what if somebody's watching, or what if somebody, so I was starting to think about that. But then this happened. The two little boys in fact, let me go back and show you guys. The two little boys, Brom and Bray, they play pranks on the bar patrons. And I have a little encounter I made up right here, where if the PCs get a room here, Brom and Bray have them do a little contest. I made up this contest where you got to boop somebody with your nose. It's the thing where you go like that to somebody and see if they notice. So we set up a whole game with these people. Like, I'm not going to give you your key until you play this game with me. And it was just a funny little game that these two kids are trying to get them to prank other bar patrons. And it was fun. And so then the two brothers are paired up on a team. They're on team one. Two other characters were like, I don't want to do this. This is just ridiculous. I don't want to play pranks. You know, their characters are like being all grumpy about it, which their characters would be. They don't want to play pranks. They're tired and kind of tipsy and stuff. So the two brothers are going to it, and then they're trying to distract him. Lars, the bard, is trying to distract the group while Felix, the rogue, is trying to do the boop with his nose and get away with it, right? So Lars walks up. He's like, hey guys, hey. So and he starts chatting them up, just trying to get their attention. And I was like, you know what? 1 second, let me roll something. Higher than a 15, they notice you and recognize you. I rolled a 17. They're like, aren't you the guy that said that thing earlier and caused everybody to wait? Aren't you arrested? And they're like, wait, what? He's like, no, that's the I don't know. And before he can even talk about that, Felix comes up. And he goes, I go up to boop him. I get my nose right up next to his shoulder, and then I throw up. Because he had already been role playing that he was tipsy and semi-drunk and stuff, and he throws up on the guy's shoulder. Hilarious, like a purposeful auto fail on the player. Absolute props to that player. Bow, loved it. So he throws up on this NPC's shoulder, and he's like, "What the heck, man? Come on, what's going on?" And then everybody's kind of making their way up to the bed, and I was gonna have it end on this. It was just a funny little moment. They all start making their way up. The kids freaked out, threw the key and ran. Gave the key to the players and ran. And then they were gonna make their way up, and then he's like, "What are you gonna do? You gotta clean this. What are you gonna do about it?" And I'm talking to Felix, the rogue, and Felix is like, "No, I don't. He's got it," and then leaves. And this is the player fully setting up the bard, his own brother, friend at the table, to try and bait him into casting magic. Because I knew, and I know that the rogue also knew, that the bard had prestidigitation. Lars had prestidigitation. And he could easily clean this up with magic. And he did. He goes, I'm just going to use prestidigitation and clean it up. And I stopped for a second. I just looked at him across the table. I was like, okay. And he's like, oh, wait, no, I mean, I'm just gonna make it look like, and I was like, oh, well, hold up, no, hold up. I need you to give me a sleight of hand check at disadvantage. And he rolled like a 12, and it was not good enough. And I was like, he's like, come on, I'm just cleaning it up, and it's good. I'm like, bro, you have your bare hand wiping over vomit, and it turns perfectly clean. Looks like a magic trick, and you definitely looks like you just cast magic. These people freak out. They're like, he's of the devil. And they freak out and they run out again. The people, he's of the devil. There's a sorcerer. Sorcerers and there's a witch. He's blessed by the blessings of the devil. And then they all start running out and freaking out again. And then what was so funny is I had them just run out. And he's like, all right, I'm going up to bed. And so then they leave. And I purposely even kind of role played a little bit, let them go upstairs. They got their bed. I was like, how are you guys getting in bed? Okay, cool. You got this. You're sitting in this bed. You're sitting there. Okay, cool. Great. Finian. Finian is the cleric of the group. And Finian's going to stay at the church. And Finian, I said, as you're leaving, Finian, you're leaving. And you hear some yelling. And two guards rush into the Blue Water Inn with a familiar patron behind that's saying, he's up there. Two more guards rush in. And Finian's like, okay, there's nothing I can do but watch. And we ended the session with a gong, gong, gong. Open up. We know you're in there. You're a magic user and you've spoken the devil's name. We're here to arrest you. Come out. And then it was this whole thing. And I busted down the door. Everyone's there. He's like, no, but wait. And that's where we ended the session. So, man, oh man, that was crazy. And I am now going to prepare to arrest Lars and see where that whole thing goes. Because one thing for myself as a dungeon master is I don't want to push the envelope so hard to where then they're screwed in Vallaki. But I'm definitely going to make him serve some time. And definitely, I can't not bring the hammer down in this way because he said Strahd's name. And, oh God, he said Strahd's name and he cast magic. And he lied about at the very beginning when they entered the town that he doesn't cast magic. Turns out he's going to be found out that he does cast magic, and he lied about that too. So I honestly don't know how hard I'm going to be on him, but it's going to be pretty hard. It's going to be pretty hard. So we'll see how that goes. And it might be so hard to where I think I know of the path I'm going to go down. He might get locked up into the prison cell with another person. And yeah, we'll see what happens. And the party's going to be split up, and we're going to see how that whole thing unfolds. So anyway, until next time, stay creative, think outside the box, and we'll see if they can get Lars out of this box he's going to be in. Peace.